Well, hello everybody. It is time for Bryce and Jay's excellent vlog adventures. And I am really pumped about this topic today because it's one that's super near and dear to my heart. Talk about it all the time. It's work-life balance. So Bryce, texted me the other day and he's like, I want to talk about this. And I'm like, hell yes.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about it today, and I'm just pumped to have a great conversation and would love, gonna love the back and forth conversation. And let's start with your thoughts. Let's start with what does work-life balance mean to Bryce?
Well, yeah, and let's just talk too quick. We've been off for a little bit, so it's
True.
nice. It's nice to be back, and it's nice to be doing this because
Agreed.
I enjoy the pod. I enjoy the video logs, the vlogs, right? It's fun. So work-life balance is something that you've been passionate about pretty much the entire time I've known you. Back when you were my sales manager at Bell Mobility. So it's something that I've struggled with for most of my career in car sales because I didn't believe in it. I just believed that, I had to do one thing and I had to go all in on that thing to get to what I want to achieve, right? So I basically it was just work, nonstop. I did a lot of 12-hour days, plus I was working 5, 6 days a week, sometimes seven when need be, and I just went all into my work. And then basically my family just fit in where I could fit them. But when I did have my family time, I was all in on that. We go on trips, we go to Fino, we do lots. And I eventually found myself burnt out, and I feel like that's a real thing. Is burnout is real, and it's happened to me. And now I look at work-life balance in a new way, and I left, let's face it, I left a 200,000 a year job for a much less job that I feel I can build up on my own and either, create my own company and my own thing, but also having time the way I want to do it because it's about freedom. So for me, it's a big deal, just like for you, Jay. And yeah, that's kind of like my thoughts on it in a nutshell, right?
Hmm. Yeah, it's look, full disclosure, I it's never perfect for me. It's always a reminder, and I got to kick back in, and I got to kick back in. Like I go deep into roles, and it's not just about like 40 hours a week, and then saying, well, 40 hours of the week I'm gonna be at work.
Yeah.
Um, it's now more than ever, work follows you. Before it used to just be in the brain, right? You'd be like, okay, I got a big presentation tomorrow. And like even though the clock stopped ticking, you're still in work mode a little bit. And
Yeah.
so there's some dangers in that. And then, the one that is probably, you know, it's the best thing that's ever happened to us, some would say, and it's also the worst thing that's ever happened to us, some would say, which is cell phones and smartphones, right? Because now people have like their work stuff on their personal phones, and they
Yeah.
got their emails, and so when you leave the office, I mean, I've heard every single excuse known to man. I try to preach and I try to help people shut off your notifications, shut off your email. Like, don't ever give me the excuse you don't know how to shut off your email off your smartphone, because there's a thing called Google,
Yeah.
and that avoids all excuses. But
Totally.
it, it's not just like that. Like I said, that punch out time, it's your mind is still going. So like you and I both being in sales, even on our days off, it's like, okay, I got to get that lead closed. I got to follow up with this deal. I'm halfway through the month, and I need to be double where I am now, or whatever the
Yeah.
case may be. That that messes with that. Like, you can be off work but still working, right? And
Totally.
so you're with the kids at the park playing, and your mind isn't there. Your mind is at work.
Yeah.
Um, it's not really the employer's fault. It's us individually. So that's my kickoff statement, and would love to hear kind of your thoughts around some of
No,
those topics.
I think you're right. And I think that, like for me, it wasn't the case, but the people who have to work from home, I think that, I was listening to a podcast or an article, or maybe it was you. It's basically like you leave, you're at home, and then all of a sudden you got to switch to from work mode where you're at home to home mode. And there's
Yeah.
no real disconnect and how it can be difficult to do it. And on the other side, like me in the car industry, it's, my customers have my cell phone number. And
Mm.
they feel like there's no bad time to contact you, right? And that's just like, and I'm okay with it because that's kind of what I'm used to. And, I'll get texts at 9 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night or 7 in the morning or whenever it might be on my day off, on my vacation, or, someone's, from another dealership telling me about a car to buy, and it's all pressing time. So it's like, when you're in certain careers, that career is not just a career, it's your life, right? It's your lifestyle. And I mean, for so long, because I've been working so much and taking care of kids like most people, but extra on the hours, is I don't even know what my hobby is. I don't really have a hobby, right? Like, so, I've tried and I do this, I do that, but I leave it, and then I basically, oh, all of a sudden, no, I don't have time for anything. I'm focused fully back on work. And what I've found is that that's just my life, is like work is a huge part of who I am, and that might not ever go away, but that kind of works for me and my personality. That being said, I'm not down with 16 hours stuck in an office or 5, 6, 7 days a week. And like it
Yeah.
is, it's a very personal experience, because I know people who want, and like, their energy is like amped up when they do that. Like that's just their
Yep.
game, and that's what works for them. And then there's other people on the other part of that spectrum, is like, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and the phone's off, and they can control that, So I'm somewhere in the middle, but right now I'm really enjoying my 9 to 5 job. So
We all
that
do.
so much home time. It's just
Yeah.
crazy. And that's why we're
It's a
doing
great
this,
thing.
because all of a sudden I have time, right?
Yeah, what a bonus in the bonus. But I'll go to one talking about like best practices. Again, I'm not perfect, but for those that do work from home or work remotely now, um, one thing that I've personally found over probably the last 5 months in my new role, also when I was in COVID times when everybody was working from home, um, make a spot for it where you can shut the door,
Yeah.
right? Or like stick it in a closet. Like if you've got a laptop or you got a, I mean, not too many people have like full computers anymore, but stick it away, right?
Mhm.
Like if it's in your office, shut the office door when 5 o'clock hits. If it's on, like, the worst is like on your kitchen table or your island, it's right there.
So
And
easy to
so
pick it
like
up.
it's so easy to pick it up. Oh, let me
Yeah.
just shoot, this one email. Like the amount of people that say they've worked harder now and longer days and fuller days being remote is crazy because it's right there. It's convenient.
Right.
And so it's also like mentally you see it there. And so even if you're like chilling out, watching some Netflix or having dinner and you see that laptop, your mind can go to work. So it's really good to keep it out of sight, because of course that's out of mind.
Hmm.
Definitely one of the things that I would say is a best practice. The challenge I'm going to give you, because we both live that world, like, me too. I worked, supporting multiple retail locations, and essentially I was always on if
Yeah.
those stores were open. And so, I get phone
And
calls at like eight
and when
o'clock,
are
nine
those
o'clock at night.
stores closed?
9 o'clock, right?
Yeah,
Or even
exactly.
Christmas
So it's
time,
it's
it's
all the
even
time.
later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I gotta say, we can challenge ourselves because we can set boundaries, right?
Hmm.
Even with customers, if they call, it's a little different because you're like, shoot, there's a sale on that other line or something. You could not pick it up, right? You could put it on silent. You could put do not disturb. There's so many cool capabilities the phones have now to silence it. So I
Yeah.
still would say challenge yourself if you want to. I mean, it's not really about work-life balance. It's about work-life harmony. If that
Mhm.
works for you, gets you pumped up, do it. But if you
Totally.
want to change it, you have an ability to set some boundaries with teams, with customers, and so you can rewrite the book. Now, again, I think you're an exceptional hard worker and a hustler, and I know that those phone calls like up you and get you pumped
Hmm.
up, and that can actually positively impact your personal life too, right? Like you're out with the
Totally.
kids and the wife,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh frick, I just closed this deal, like awesome. And then you
Yeah.
go, buy everybody DQ and some blizzards, right? Like it
Yeah.
can have a positive effect too.
Totally. And it's so personal, right? Like it
Yeah.
really is, because everybody has a different like opinion on what the work-life balance should be, right? So like for
Yeah.
me, like it's got to be a bit of everything, right? A bit of freedom and a bit of like
Yeah.
working when I have to. But then for me, I think that, like, so when I'm on my days off or I'm at home, like right now, if a sale call came in, I'd pick it up, right? Like, so there's that. But what I really found is what gave me, like what it felt healthy to me is that when I went on vacation, that was it.
Mm.
I had
Mm-hmm.
no work
Shut it off.
whatsoever, shut it off,
Beautiful.
because you can't do vacation halfway. Go all in on your vacation. If you're going all in and you're struggling like you or I, and there's no real work-life balance, when you do have time, that's it. You got to know how to turn it all off and then set that boundary like right in the
Yep.
sand, right?
Yep.
Because it's important. Like, so like, or if you're, watching your kids play a sport or, at a recital, like there are certain times where it's just, what, too bad if I miss that call, I missed that call,
Yep.
so you got to watch those things too. I know that like I've been listening to the news, and the news has been, I think it was CBC radio, and they were talking about, there's more and more talk about the government and 4-day work weeks. What do you think about what do you think about that? And then how does that look to someone like you who is leading a giant team of people? Like, does that put you and your team in a place that becomes harder to staff and everything like that? Or does it also put you in a place where, hey, now I have to staff extra people and it's going to cost me more? Like from a big corporation that like you work for, running big teams, like how does that impact your business, and what's your thoughts on that?
It's a great question, and it's been a hot topic for quite a bit now, and it continues to bubble up. To be honest, I don't think it fixes the problem, no matter what, because the
Yeah.
problem still exists here.
Hmm.
Um, Number one, what are you going to do? Are you going to work 4 10-hour shifts to get 40 hours in? Are you going to take possibly an hour cut of one day?
Hmm.
Because businesses aren't going to really pay you for um, uh, hours you're not working. So if you
Yeah.
rely on that 40 hours per week, good luck.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
other part, if let's say, because I once upon a time I did work 4 days a week. I worked a 12, 2 10s, and an 8.
Right.
Here's my thought about that extra day off. I was exhausted because I worked longer days and I was standing on my feet, just put my sales face on,
Hmm.
and I was exhausted. So I took a day of just like doing nothing
Just
to
lounging,
recover. Yeah,
recover
just to
mode. Yeah.
recover. So
Yeah.
so I think there is a place to do it, but I still think the outcome can be the same depending on your mind. Because if you stress, let's say you only have 4 days and you're trying to cram everything in, you're going to have more stress. You're
Yeah.
like, I got to
Yeah.
get this
I
done. I
got
got
to
to get
get
this
done.
done. I only have 4 days. I only have this much time. You're still going to be thinking about work on your
Yeah.
days off. So,
Yeah.
I don't. I think it should be optional to each individual if they really feel that need, but I don't think it actually fixes it. We have to fix this more
Yeah.
than days off.
Totally.
It just won't work.
Right. That makes sense. And like, like I don't know how, again, like it can affect businesses, right? Like,
Oh, big time.
because you're going to have to either staff more people
Yep.
or run your other people longer shifts. Like, so it's a tricky thing, and it's hot,
Yep.
like you said, hot topic. And one of the things, like in North America, it's like statistically known and studied that we work more than anywhere else in the world. Like that we just work more, and that's just the life out here. That's our lifestyle, I guess, right? Like, have you chatted with anybody within your team that's been abroad and worked other places? And is there any, something that you can take away from that?
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, Japan also works like actually maybe even harder. I
Oh
recall
yeah,
their
I would
baseball
actually,
teams,
yes, yeah,
yeah, having
yeah,
like 12-hour day work practices and stuff. So, but I think the first thing when you look at that and how hard we work, look at where what we seek, right? Well, like we want the nice car, we want the big house, we want the marble countertops, we want the Gucci this and this that, right? So
the
I mean,
cars,
the cars,
the
sure,
Lexus.
right? Yeah, whatever. The Lamborghini would be nicer, but
Yeah.
we work so hard because we're getting stuff out of it, right? And
Yeah.
so I think we work ourselves to the bone because we seek all these things, but none of that stuff is coming to our grave. Like you literally got your skin and maybe a nice suit or whatever, and you're done.
That's it.
None of that crap matters. Now, my experience with people all over the world, it all varies. I mean,
Mm.
some people come to our country and they work twice as freaking hard as anybody else I've ever met because from different countries, like their their level of jobs, they'll work 12, 16 hours a day because that job is coveted, and they come over here and they're like, what, I only get an 8-hour shift? I can work longer, I can work harder.
Right.
So I think we're actually, and a lot of times we're pretty fortunate. Some
Mm.
some governments actually don't even regulate maximum work days. So my sister used to work in Amsterdam, and I think if I recall correctly, 12, 13, 14-hour days. She would just work.
Mm.
She didn't get any overtime, just flat out rate. So
Salary.
almost, it was still hourly though,
Oh,
but
so what you're saying is
yeah.
maybe we don't have it so bad. And another, like that in itself is a show, is a topic
hmm
for our
hmm
podcast, is what are we searching for, and
Oh yeah.
why do we think we're going to find it in shopping and buying and have it so more like that's another topic that could, like, it could be hours of talking about it, because I feel
Yeah.
pretty deep about that too. Is like, why do we do it to ourselves? So I guess, like, what do you feel could be the best thing that someone who we're lucky enough would watch this deep into the show is, what can they take away? Like, what can there be one, if there was one takeaway that you could tell the audience of that will help them create a more comfortable work-life balance? If there was one
I'll
thing.
just one. I could give you like 20. I
Go
got
ahead.
I got
Fire
loads.
them off, man. I ain't got anywhere
Okay.
to go.
Yeah. Look, okay. Number one,
Done.
vacation. Self-reflection. If you're dying by the time you get to your vacation, you're doing something wrong, right? If vacation is like your portal, like, oh my goodness, I'm so burnt out, you got to fix something. So you probably don't have good like work-life harmony. Um, now, so pay attention to that. Now, you get to that finish line and you get to that vacation, you're signing off at 5 p.m. on Friday, sign the F out. Like,
Yeah.
if you're a leader, you don't have to be there. It's actually disrespectful to the people you're putting in charge while you're away. Like, give them a chance to
Let them do
step
their job.
up.
Yep.
Let them, well, do your job.
For
And
you.
if you sneak in there and, oh, I'm just going to check a couple emails, or going to shoot this over there, and like, you just diminished everything that they're doing. Shut it down. Like, this is your time. It's a
Mhm.
benefit. Totally disconnect. Now, I will say this, that I've learned through working with some people. I used to grill some of my peers. I had a leader once upon a time call me aside and like, look, it works for them. So as much as I say disconnect, give, the person in charge that opportunity to step up. Some people will generate stress by being that disconnected. So if you're that person and you're like, I need to be plugged in.
I need to know what's happening.
Yeah, I need to know what's happening.
Yeah.
Do it for your own sanity, because it could actually have a reverse effect where you just constantly thinking on your vacation, what's blowing up, what's blowing up, what's blowing up. So that's my preach on vacation.
Okay.
It's threefold. If you're seeking it because you're so freaking burnt out, something's not working in your job. It's not set up. Give the people you put in charge the opportunity to shine. And if you are one of those people that just has to plug in and you're stressing because you can't see something or know something, do what you got to do. Just limit yourself. Now, I think when it comes to work-life balance on the day-to-day,
yeah, that's the big one, man. That's the meat and potatoes.
You know what? Like you mentioned having like a hobby, right? I think sometimes we get so lost in like what is the hobby that we end up never having a hobby.
Can't figure it out.
So don't like pick up a pencil and a piece of paper and like draw. Like you don't have to be a good drawer, just freaking draw. It's like it's
coming from the artist.
Well, small one. Like take it like, and here's like how I love to draw is I'll take a picture that I like and I'll copy it, right?
Yeah.
Because in my mind, trying to create something actually takes some stresses. So just draw.
That's how I draw, and I'm not a drawer, so I'm no artist. But that's how I can draw. Is that I just for sure. Yeah, that makes sense. You know what? Go and try stuff, right? Like last year when I was working a lot and I stumbled upon rock climbing and it was great. Great way to do it because it's physical. You're moving your body and like, it's strenuous and it's mental because you gotta like I was bouldering, right? So it was how am I going to get this climb? And like, so it like worked in two different ways. I'd go to work and I'd feel good because I'll do it in the morning or maybe even after work with a couple buddies and grab a beer and you feel better. Like, and that's work-life balance right there is you need to disconnect because if you're connected in too much, you are actually less effective, right? Like you can become less effective. So, one of the things that like has come up in my job is that, like basically it's this thing where it's you have to be there. You have to be there. The people above you have to be there. The people above them have to be there. And everybody's got to be there. And it doesn't matter. Like, you can't go, right? You got to be there. So I guess that's just what's going on in my world. And I've always been like a firm believer. It's like you just at some point can't be because you'll be there, but you're not effective. You're not going to be closing deals the way that you could be if you went home, saw your family, got re-energized because energy is a depleting thing. It comes up and it goes down. Like you need to re-energize. So what does it look like in the corporate world? Because we're in two different worlds. I'm in sales, you're in corporate, which is still sales too, leadership. What does it look like for your leaders, the CEOs that you deal with? What does their balance look like? Are they pushing? Does it take working 160 hours, straight to become that CEO? Like, do you have to put the time in to get there, Jay? Or do you think that you can get there on the slow roll and still have a life?
I don't know a lot of the CEOs, and I certainly don't know their day to day. But I believe our culture is really about like we're strong believers in mental health, right? And our culture is really around mental health. And I think from our leadership team, they're leading by example a lot of the times. They walk the walk and they talk the talk. And so, I don't recall the last time I got an email at 11:30 at night asking for feedback from any leader. It's been eons. And I don't recall a time at 6 a.m. where someone was calling me. And so I think there is a very like it's all about what you give in the time you have, and
Yeah.
40 hours a week is a lot of time. That's why it's like it sucks up half of our life every week
Yep.
is work. I think there's probably amazing CEOs out there that do live in that 40-hour work week. Again, brain might be looking, there might be some stressful stuff, there might be some bad media or whatever. Their brain might be on work a little bit, but I think there's real empowerment to lead that way so that other people follow you. You can't be a great leader and say have good work-life balance and then you're doing the opposite thing. People
Yeah, of
don't
course.
they don't
It's not gonna
follow
work.
that. They follow
No.
their leader. They're gonna
Yeah,
mirror what you do.
totally.
So I definitely think the corporate world is really growing into that mindset very, very strong. And I only see it getting better and better and better because people get burnt out otherwise, and
Well, it's a
that
real
costs a lot
burnout's
more
real.
money. Oh
Burnout's
yeah,
real.
big
You
time.
see all the tech companies, like that's been in the news, and they've got
Yeah,
time where you can go to sleep, take a nap,
yeah,
like
yep.
they like real
Meditation
stuff,
rooms.
right? Meditation rooms,
Yep.
fitness centers, place where you can go play video games on your lunch break or pool or like the tech company is huge for that. So
Yep.
yeah, it is cool, and I am a firm believer that there's times that you're going to have to put the time in, and like if you're an owner, you run your own business, entrepreneur, you're probably going to be thinking about work more than the average
Hmm. Oh
employee,
yeah.
and you have to, because
Yeah.
that's why you own the business. Like your mind has to be there at all times. So, but you can
Yep.
still get that work-life balance, right?
Yep.
Because
Yep.
you wouldn't want to be an entrepreneur looking for a 9 to 5. Like it doesn't really go together. So I think that the people that are after work-life balance, you can find it and you can achieve it. The people who are like more like you and me, it's a constant balancing act.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. And when we talk, again, like I like to call it work-life harmony. Like I said, a great friend of mine, Keith, had mentioned that to me one time when I was talking about work-life balance, and he's like, it's really about like what works for that individual, right? and
Yeah.
and so some people might need to like put in 12 hours because maybe they're a little bit slower, or maybe they've got more on their plate, or more they're adding more things onto your plate. Like as long as they can finish that 10 or 12-hour day and disconnect effectively and still be present with their family, that's okay. Like,
Hmm.
we can't always look at like this 40-hour number as
Yeah.
the epitome of it, because sometimes you have to work more. Like I have some days where I'm like, oh man, I got to put 3 more hours in. If I
Yeah.
don't today, tomorrow's I'm just going to put stress on myself, and that's not going to feel good on Friday. So let's just
Yeah.
get it
Yeah.
done, right? So
Yeah.
um, the other thing I know I still want to share best practices too. You talked about rock climbing. I talked about drawing. It's unlimited. Like literally, especially if you work at home, like get your butt off that freaking chair, go out for a 15-minute walk. Like literally just go out for a 15-minute walk, because it's like when we think about that shift when we
Yeah.
used to go to offices and we'd go work our 8-hour day, and then we drive home and we'd be in rush hour traffic, and then we get home. That rush hour traffic, or that traffic, whatever you're in, is an opportunity to shift gears, to get into family mode, or just
Yep.
personal life mode.
Just
And
unplug.
yeah, and so when you work from home, or you're remote or whatever, and you don't have that travel time, you literally try to engage right into like work, personal life, and
Hmm.
and sometimes like you're still working and you're there, but you're not present. And
Yeah.
so go for a walk, go read a book, go bask in the sun for 10 minutes, like the most beautiful thing
Yeah.
ever. I love
Totally.
just sitting in the
Yeah.
sun. Hike, go for a drive, like just go to 7-Eleven to grab a Slurpee or something like that. Crank your tunes for a little bit, whatever the case may be. Give yourself that like off
Yeah.
and on, work off
Yeah.
and life on. And
Totally.
just pick anything. It costs nothing to walk.
Yep.
essentially. So if
Yep.
you can do it, do it.
Totally.
Yeah, off topic. I went back there, but I could go on and on and on. It's just really about making your personal life important. Call your mom, call your dad, call your grandparents, call your friends. I mean, there's a thousand things we could do, just to get out of that work mode, because we are in our jobs and life is short. We're all gonna
Yep.
die,
Yep.
and what we make of this moment is is every day that we have. If you had an expiry date that said Bryce is a month to live, would you live life differently?
Of course.
If and why don't we do that every day?
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
Like
Exactly.
I could die tomorrow. I could die in my sleep tonight. Yet I'm not making enough time. Like, I mean, tonight we're making time. I love this time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I could be sitting and sitting on my laptop and working and die in my sleep.
Yep.
And like nobody's gonna be like, "Yo, Jay, he was really hard worker." Like maybe they will, but like uh, you know, it's life. Like smell the ocean air, walk in the rain, walk in the snow. None of that matters. Life matters. That's what's important. We only have one
Life
crack at it,
matters.
as far as I know.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
make it the most of it. Make
I
it like you have an expiry date every single
totally.
day. As negative as that might sound, it's a good way to
Well,
live.
it's like, you know, live as if you're going to be alive until you're 100, but also live every day like it could be your last, right?
Correct.
Plan for the future, act like
Yes.
you're going to live for forever, but suck life out of every single day because you just don't know.
Yeah.
Right. So
Absolutely.
it's so true. And I think that, like if this episode gets the attention of this subject, I think that we could dive into it and structure our call and really just go through best practices, hit it one
Yeah.
through 10 and like just get after it. So like, or we don't, but for sure, if somebody wants it, we can absolutely do that. We can talk more into it because it's such one of those, it's just like always trending. It's this, work life balance.
Yes.
And I like that you changed the narrative and went work life harmony because I agree with that. Right. So it's like, it's just one of those words that everybody says, but there's like, I don't know, no real meaning to it. Like it's just thrown around all the time. Right. So like I love that we're doing this subject and it's a subject that I think everybody can relate to. Right.
Yeah.
Everybody can relate to it. So
Yeah.
I actually really like this subject.
Yep.
So I appreciate everything that you've been able to come to the table with and being able to
You
answer
as
some of my
well.
questions. Because like there's people out there that just want to know, they want to hear this type of stuff, right? From a guy like you, especially who's a leader of a big, very successful organization in a corporate world, right? There's people
Hmm.
out there that just don't know what to do. So,
Yeah.
you know,
You're absolutely right. The word is often said. It's often talked about, but it's really internally. It's not
yeah,
the company's fault. It's our own
totally.
responsibility, to make it important and define what the harmony works best for us so that we can hold ourselves accountable
Yeah,
to things that we should do to make our lives better. And, you know, like I said at the beginning of this, I'm no expert. I have a lot of best practices. I do my best, to really unplug and let other people lead. And I really do my best to get out for walks as much. I don't even like walking, but I freaking walk all the
you're
time.
always walking. You're
I'm
always
always
walking.
walking, man.
And it's
It's when
like,
my
who
best
is an
thoughts
expert?
come.
Who
No,
who is the
nobody's.
expert? Nobody's an expert. Nobody knows. There's no right way to
Yeah,
do it because we're all different. We
no,
all want different things. There's no expert, but a guy like you is a wealth of knowledge for it,
I
right?
appreciate
So
it.
yeah,
The more brains
100%.
we put together, the more wealth of knowledge that we have, right? So
Totally.
I'm so happy you brought this topic up, because as you can tell, I'm super passionate about it. I could go on for
Yep.
hours and hours and hours, but hopefully, like, honestly, Bryce, like, just having this conversation with you feels so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
If one person watches this thing to its entirety, and we help that one person, man, my life just got that much better, right? Like
That's
I
the
don't
only
need
reason
that,
why we do
but
it. That's the only
yeah,
reason we're
it's
not
good.
doing this for money, right? Like we're doing
No,
this
it's
because we
not
just
funny.
want people to enjoy two guys that have been in business and sales for a long time that talk about topics. And like again, like anybody that wants to throw a topic at us, feel free. Like I'm
Please.
feeling at this moment, we should talk about the way that why do we go after what we're after, and
Yeah.
when
Oh
when
yeah.
will it be enough, and is there an enough
Mm.
scenario? You know what I mean?
Oh
Or are we just hungry forever for things that really have no meaning? By next season or next year, we're going to be throwing them on Facebook Marketplace.
yeah. What is Mount Everest, eh? Let's
Yeah.
pause on that one because we could go forever.
Oh,
But I
totally.
love that one.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
All
for
right.
all of those people that might be watching or might not be watching, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Subscribe to Bryce's channel. Subscribe to mine if
Absolutely.
you want, but leave
Yeah.
comments because
Comment,
that
like,
fuels us.
share. It's nice.
Yeah, like,
Yes.
share. Absolutely. Thank
All
you,
right.
Bryce, for this one. This one felt really, really good. I'm pumped up about being better at work-life balance. I hope you are
Me too.
too. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
can't wait till next topic.
Totally.